The Golden State Warriors are facing a difficult offseason, and now they have one more problem to deal with. The NBA announced a major reform to its draft lottery system that will be in effect for at least the 2027, 2028, and 2029 drafts. And the new rules make it significantly harder for teams entering a rebuild to land franchise-changing talent through the draft. For the Warriors, who are heading toward a post-Stephen Curry era sooner rather than later, this is bad news. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do, and honestly, the best way to back this content up, because every single like pushes this further. So hit it now. Under the old system, 14 teams participated in the lottery, and only the first 4 picks were determined by the drawing of ping pong balls. Everything after that followed a predetermined order based on record. The new format expanded the lottery to 16 teams, and in a dramatic shift, all 16 picks will now be decided by ping pong balls. That means no team can count on landing a high pick simply by finishing with a bad record. The randomness of the lottery now governs the top 16 selections every year. The structure of how balls are distributed is also important to understand. Teams that finish with the 3 worst records in the league receive just 2 lottery balls. Teams finishing between 4th and 10th from the bottom get 3 balls. The 9th and 10th seeds in each conference, the play-in participants, receive 2 balls. And the losers of the 7th versus 8th play-in games receive 1 ball each. So even the worst team in the league does not have a commanding edge over the others. There are 2 key restrictions. Teams finishing in the bottom 3 of the league are guaranteed to pick no lower than 12th. However, beyond that, there are no guardrails. A team with a 4th worst record could theoretically land the first overall pick or drop all the way to 16th. The unpredictability is built into the system by design. 2 other rules add even more complexity. First, no team can pick first overall in back-to-back years. Second, and this is the most damaging rule for rebuilding teams, no franchise can land a top 5 pick in 3 consecutive years. That second restriction directly targets the kind of rapid asset accumulation that allowed teams like the San Antonio Spurs to build around young stars quickly. The Spurs drafted Victor Wembanyama first overall in 2023, Stephon Castle fourth overall in 2024, and Dylan Harper second overall in 2025. Under the new system, that kind of run would be impossible. For the Warriors, the timing could not be worse. Golden State currently has Stephen Curry under contract, but at 38 years old heading into next season, the clock is ticking. Team Governor Joe Lacob has publicly resisted the idea of a full rebuild, but the roster reality is increasingly hard to ignore. The team finished 37-45 this season, missing the playoffs for the second time in 4 years, and relied heavily on a veteran core that is aging rapidly. When Curry eventually steps away, a rebuilding period will be unavoidable. The Warriors' plan to return to contention has largely depended on their ability to trade draft picks for an established star. Golden State has its own first-round picks for the next 7 consecutive years, and those picks were supposed to be the currency for a major trade. For instance, a potential blockbuster for Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo was being discussed with a package that included a 2030 first-round pick, a 2031 first-round pick swap, and a 2032 first-round pick. The Bucks, or any trade partner in a similar deal, would naturally want those picks to land in premium lottery territory, ideally the top 5. Under the new rules, that kind of deal becomes harder to sell. At best, the receiving team will be capped at 2 top 5 picks across 3 draft years, and there is no guarantee any of them land in the top 10, given the randomness of the expanded lottery. Teams will still want draft picks as trade compensation, but the value of future first-rounders has been meaningfully diluted. That creates a real problem for Golden State, which lacks the kind of high-profile young talent. The Brandon Podziemski level is solid, but not star caliber. That would make trades attractive beyond draft capital alone. The NBA has not officially committed to extending these lottery rules past 2029, but the expectation around the league is that the format will likely be extended when the owners vote. That means the Warriors could be playing under this system for the entire span of their most important off-seasons going forward. None of this means Golden State cannot rebuild successfully. Teams have built winners without consistent top 5 picks. Good scouting and smart drafting in the mid-lottery range can produce quality players. But the margin for error is tighter, and the dream of landing multiple transformative draft picks in a short window, a cornerstone of the Warriors' post-Curry planning, just became significantly harder to achieve. The new lottery rules are a direct hit to Golden State's long-term strategy, arriving at the worst possible moment for a franchise standing at a crossroads. While the NBA's draft lottery changes add a new layer of difficulty to Golden State's long-term planning, the Warriors also face a series of urgent and complicated decisions this summer that will define the team's direction for years to come. From contract extensions to player options, free agency choices, and a financial situation that leaves very little room to maneuver, General Manager Mike Dunleavy has a difficult few months ahead. Start with the most important name on the roster, Stephen Curry. The greatest player in Warriors history will turn 38 years old next season. He is currently under contract, but this summer he becomes eligible to sign a 2-year extension worth approximately $136.7 million. The deal would give Curry a career-high annual salary of $65.7 million in the first year, followed by $71 million in the second. Whether Curry signs the extension will say a great deal about how long he sees himself competing at an elite level, and how the Warriors see the next chapter of the franchise playing out around him. The urgency does not stop with Curry. 3 key veterans, forward Draymond Green, forward Al Horford, and guard DeAnthony Melton, all hold player options for the 2026-27 season. All 3 have until June 29th to decide whether to opt in or opt out. Green carries a $27.7 million player option. Horford's option is worth $6 million. Melton's is valued at $3.5 million. The Warriors would reportedly be happy to see both Melton and Horford return, given the steady contributions both players provided during the regular season. Horford, at 40 years old, is still seen as a useful veteran presence, while Melton provides reliable guard depth. Green, now 36 and still a defensive anchor, is widely expected to opt in rather than test the open market. On the injury front, the most consequential question hanging over the offseason involves Jimmy Butler. The Warriors announced in January that Butler suffered a torn right ACL against the Miami Heat and would miss the remainder of the season. He is currently sitting on a $56.8 million cap hit for 2026-27, roughly 34% of the projected salary cap, for a player who will be 37 years old and returning from one of the most serious injuries in the sport. If Butler comes back close to his previous form, Golden State can still argue they have a competitive veteran core capable of contending. If his recovery falls short, that enormous contract becomes the most logical trade asset the Warriors could deploy to acquire another star, whether that ends up being Kawhi Leonard or someone else at that level. The cap situation overall is genuinely complex. According to multiple reports, the Warriors are projected to fall below the luxury tax threshold for the first time since the 2019-20 season, a significant shift for an organization that has spent years operating as one of the league's biggest spenders. Their current payroll for 9 active roster spots already sits near $181.5 million against a projected cap of $165 million, meaning they are over the cap with still several roster spots to fill. The math leaves very little flexibility. Golden State does have access to a non-taxpayer mid-level exception worth up to $15 million, but using it comes with a cost. Doing so would trigger the first apron hard cap, significantly restricting the team's ability to acquire additional players through trade. Given the front office's desire to stay nimble heading into what could be a pivotal offseason for trades, using the full mid-level exception may be too risky. Among restricted and unrestricted free agents, the Warriors must make decisions on several players. Unrestricted free agents include veterans Gary Payton II, Seth Curry, and Charles Bassey. Restricted free agents Pat Spencer, Quentin Post, and Nate Williams are also in play. Of those, Post appears most likely to attract offers above the minimum level, and the Warriors have the right to match any qualifying offer made to him. Among players still on standard contracts, guard Brandon Podziemski is entering the final year of his rookie deal and could be a candidate for an extension. At 23 years old, the former first-round pick has shown real promise and holds trade value if the Warriors choose to make a big swing this summer. Two-way players Gue Santos and others on non-guaranteed deals round out the roster picture. All two-way contracts are prorated and can be cut at any time without financial penalty, giving the Warriors flexibility at the margins. With their own first-round pick secured for the next 7 years, Golden State's path forward through the draft remains intact. But the decisions made this summer, on Curry's extension, Butler's recovery timeline, Green's opt-in, and how to deploy limited cap space, will determine whether the Warriors remain competitive or begin a deeper transition. With the 2026 NBA draft withdrawal deadline now passed, the picture of this year's class has become clearer, and the depth at the top has taken a hit. Several notable college players opted to return to school rather than enter the draft, among them Alabama's Amari Allen and St. John's Towndy Isufu, two prospects who have been generating real buzz in pre-draft circles. Their decisions to stay in college thin out an already uneven class, particularly in the second round, where quality options are scarce. For the Golden State Warriors, who hold the 11th overall pick in the first round, those withdrawals do not drastically change the calculus at the top of their range. But the overall shortage of reliable second-round prospects raises an important strategic question heading into draft night. If the Warriors want to add a second player with a genuine chance of contributing immediately in 2026 to 27, they may need to acquire another first-round pick through trade. That is exactly what the following mock draft scenario projects. Looking at the top 10, the projected order shapes up as follows. The Washington Wizards select BYU small forward A.J. Dibansa at number 1. The Utah Jazz take Kansas guard Darren Peterson at number 2. The Memphis Grizzlies go with Duke power forward Cam Boozer at 3. The Chicago Bulls select UNC forward Caleb Wilson at 4. The Los Angeles Clippers choose Illinois point guard Keaton Wagler at 5. The Brooklyn Nets take Michigan center Dave Mara at 6. The Sacramento Kings select Arkansas point guard Darius Acuff Jr. at 7. The Atlanta Hawks take Arizona shooting guard Braden Burries at 8. The Dallas Mavericks pick Louisville point guard Mikael Brown Jr. at 9. And the Milwaukee Bucks close out the top 10 by selecting Houston point guard Kingston Flemings. That brings us to the Warriors pick at number 11. The projected selection here is Michigan forward Yaxel Lendeborg. At 23 years old, Lendeborg is an older prospect for first round, and that label tends to create hesitation among teams during draft evaluations. But his physical profile makes a compelling case. He measures 6 feet 8.75 inches tall and carries a wingspan of 7 feet 3.25 inches, giving him elite dimensions for a wing or versatile forward role. He is a capable shooter, a reliable rebounder, a willing passer, and a credible defender at multiple positions. He is not the type of explosive scorer who becomes a team's primary option, but he does nearly everything else at a solid level. From a strategic standpoint, taking Lendeborg at 11 makes sense for a specific reason. The wing talent in this draft class drops off quickly after him. Guards and centers with quality upside are available further down the board, into the early 20s. But if Golden State want a versatile forward with defensive tools, Lendeborg is the clear choice at this spot. Taking him first and then addressing guard depth with a second pick is the logical sequence. Picks 12 through 16 project as follows. The Oklahoma City Thunder take Baylor small forward Cameron Carr at 12. The Miami Heat select Alabama point guard LeBaron Philin Jr. at 13. The Charlotte Hornets pick Washington center Hannes Steinbach at 14. The Bulls take Michigan power forward Morez Johnson at 15. And the Grizzlies close out the lottery with New Zealand Breakers small forward Kareem Lopez at 16. Now the interesting part, the projected trade. In this scenario, the Warriors send a 2032 top 10 protected first-round pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for the 17th overall pick. This type of deal is not unprecedented for Oklahoma City. Last year, the Thunder traded the 24th pick to the Sacramento Kings in exchange for a top 16 protected 2027 first-rounder via San Antonio. The Thunder, with the deepest and most talented roster in the league, are in a position where adding 2 rookies in a single draft creates genuine roster management challenges. They simply do not have the playing time or roster spots to develop 2 new players simultaneously. Trading the 17th pick for a future protected asset is a plausible outcome. The protection level on that 2032 pick would be the main sticking point in negotiations. The Thunder, knowing this draft class as real talent in the late teens, would push for less protection. The two sides ultimately agree on a top 10 protection, meaning if the pick falls between 11 and 30, it converts to second-round picks in 2032 and 2033. With the 17th pick in hand, the Warriors select Stanford point guard Ibuka Okere. At 6 feet 1.25 inches, Okere's height will raise defensive concerns and is the primary reason he projects to slide past the lottery despite his offensive ability. His wingspan of 6 feet 7.75 inches helps mitigate some of that concern. The real argument for Okere is what he does with the ball in his hands. He averaged 23.2 points per game for Stanford this past season as the team's primary scorer and creator, operating under intense defensive pressure with a turnover rate of just 1.9 per game. He handles pressure efficiently and makes smart decisions under duress. For the Warriors, who are desperate for ball handling depth behind Curry, Okere is an immediate upgrade at backup point guard and capable of contributing real minutes in 2026 to 27.